This video has been made with the help of Envato Elements. Have you ever stopped for once and just tried listening to the flow? Cowboy Bebop is an anime that tackles this exact concept in a fascinating manner. The concept of putting on the brakes for once and trying to go with the flow. The concept of navigating the river instead of trying to fight it and control it. Of simply accepting things for what they are and then making the best of it. A philosophy that I myself still have a lot to learn from. A philosophy that will help you and I fight off stress and burnout. The philosophy of Taoism. Cowboy Bebop depicts Taoism in a manner that is incredibly clever. It's a philosophy that is deeply ingrained within all 5 of our main characters: Jet, Spike, Faye, Ed, and Ayn. 5 characters that together make up our main crew. A band of friends that live within the spaceship called Bebop and who together go after the bounty of various criminals. And no, if you were wondering, these are not your regular honest heroes that fight off criminals for the sake of moral good. No, not really. They're really only after the money that they get after turning them in. They don't spend time thinking about what's right or wrong or about what's good and evil. They just go with the flow and try to make the best of it. But that's not to say that they've always been like that. They've all had a troubled past that at times comes back to haunt them. And while some of them have an easier go at tackling the past, others have never been able to truly deal with it completely. And it's exactly here that Cowboy Bebop tackles Taoism in a manner so brilliant, most people don't even realize it when watching. Most would simply focus on the character's troubled past and think that this is the only way the show deals with this dilemma. But there is more to it. Cowboy Bebop didn't just embed the concept of going with the flow within the characters and how they deal with their past, but it also implemented this exact philosophy, the philosophy of Taoism, within its core foundation and within its music. A music that is strongly inspired by jazz, and more specifically, the style of jazz called bebop.
He called you a cowboy. What did he mean? What are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
When I first sat down to watch Cowboy Bebop, I never thought I would end up having to talk about jazz and how the philosophy of its bebop style perfectly encapsulates what this entire show is all about. But before we continue, let me explain to you what bebop even is. Well, to put it simply, bebop is a style of jazz that is focused on fast tempos, various changes, and a lot of improvising. When listening to it, most people would use words like racing, nervous, erratic, and fragmented to describe it. And it's also very clear why. Just like the flow of real life that flows in mysterious ways that cannot be described by words, so too will it be hard to describe a music style that works in similar manners. A music style that is strongly focused on being attentive and going with the flow, on realizing when the flow is changing directions and when it's time to adapt and change along with it. Not getting stuck on what came before, but rather simply accepting the change and letting oneself be taken by it. As I said, bebop is a style of music that is very hard to describe in words, but at its core, it's all about filling the room and adapting to the flow when needed. And while there is a rhythm section that functions like a foundation that keeps things more or less grounded, a good section of the act is completely improvised. And so the question arises, who are these people that are able to play bebop? Well, oftentimes it's a band that is comprised of 4 to 5 musicians. First, we have the bass that plays the most crucial part of the foundation. It's what keeps the remaining cast grounded and gives them the security and freedom to experiment with the song. Then, we have the drums. They're the ones to complement the bass's foundation and reiterate its role in a different manner. And so, bass and drums play 2 sides of the same coin. Like a distorted mirror, they throw the rhythm back and forth between each other, always changing it a bit, but still keeping it steady and firm. And then comes the piano and/or the guitar. They are the ones to take the foundation and bring it to new heights, to make things more interesting, but also to keep the band more connected. They're like the bridge between the foundation and the saxophone, and the same saxophone that is oftentimes the main attraction. He's the one that is most likely to have a solo performance, and also the one to just go with the flow, the one that goes wherever the flow may take him. And as you may have realized, these different roles within a bebop band can be mapped almost perfectly to our main crew as well. because they too are all playing a song together, everyone fulfilling a different role, but all of them in the same boat. All of them striving towards the same principles that can be found within the style of bebop. The same bebop that represents freedom and the escape from musical restraints. And so, they became the bebop crew that represents freedom and the escape from a stiff and unchanging worldview. The same crew that tried its best to embrace the Tao.
You apply excessive force, and I control that force through fluid motion. That means relaxing the whole body so it can react instantly without resistance, without thought. Do you see now? It means becoming like clear water.
And now, we finally turn to Taoism. And for anyone who is unaware, Taoism is an ancient Chinese philosophy that is centered around living in harmony with the Tao. And if you don't know what the Tao is, well, the truth is that neither do I, or more precisely, neither does anyone, and it can also not possibly be described by words, because as Lao Tzu once wrote, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So I can't really tell you what the Tao is. I'll try to describe it as best I can, but this will not in any case be a definition of the Tao. But basically, the Tao is the source, the pattern, and the substance of everything that exists. It is the flow of the universe and the source of its reality. It's infinite, but also at the same time empty. Complete and probably perfect, yet constantly changing and growing. It's within all of us and also all around us. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together. And yes, I think that the Force from Star Wars is one way to perceive the Tao. And while you may start to make connections between the Tao and some sort of God, depending on your definition of God, they're not the same. Because on one hand, the Tao is not worshipped. It's simply the way things are and the way things have always been. But then, on the other hand, the Tao is what created us. After all, the universe itself was born from it. So is it God? Is it not? Does it even exist? Really, who knows? But there is one thing I've been able to grasp the older I get, and that's the fact that things certainly seem to have a certain flow to them. Not sure if I should call it God's will, the flow, the rhythm, or simply the Tao. I've just realized that there's something there, a certain beauty in letting go and seeing things clear up. A beauty in, sometimes, letting things run their course and not interfering with them all too much. Seeing how they turn out, and then making the best out of it. And that's exactly what Taoism is all about how life can, oftentimes, take care of itself. How the cycle of life keeps going regardless of what we do. Sun comes up, sun goes down. Tide comes in, tide goes out. In a perfect balance like yin and yang. It's about becoming one with the unplanned rhythms of the Tao. About adjusting and improvising to the rhythm of the world, like it's the rhythm of a song.
I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive. I have to do it, Faye.
Bebop and Taoism are two sides of the same coin. A coin that is tossed by Cowboy Bebop in perfect unison. It's a show that grasps Taoism and the skill of going with the flow in a beautiful manner. A show that displays this message not only within its characters, but also within its music. But at the same time, it's also a cautionary tale about what could happen if you ignore the flow of the river and constantly try to swim against it. Because while most of the crew has fully embraced the Tao by the end of the show, Spike can't get himself to do it. Now, to be clear, he is someone who for the most part goes with the flow and does little to oppose it. But when it comes to his own past, he simply can't let go. He constantly says that whatever happens, happens. But I think that that's just wishful thinking on his part. He wants to believe that whatever happens, happens, but he can't help himself when it comes to his own past. He just can't get himself to let go. And so, while life is moving on, he's there, swimming against the flow and trying to desperately regain something that is long gone. A vision for his future that can never come back. A vision that is anchoring him in the moment while the river moves on. And so, eventually, to find out whether he's still alive or just dreaming, he desperately grasps for a branch that may take him out of the river, doing his best to try and fight the way of things. But it's all in vain, and once he realizes that there's no fighting the flow, he simply gives in and lets himself drown. So don't let yourself end up like Spike. Accept the flow of things and don't fight the current. Accept the Tao and try to make the best of it. And how exactly may you do that? Well, by practicing Wu Wei, the act of inaction, the act of simply not doing, or more precisely, not forcing. And that doesn't mean that you should stop trying or stop striving. It simply means that you should learn when to act and when not to act. That you should take a break and listen. Listen to the current that flows through you, the current that flows through all of us. And then, when it tells you to, then you act. Because whatever it is, you shouldn't force it. So if you think it suits you, embrace the Tao. It means that you make sure to not waste your time trying to control the river, but rather that you use your time to properly navigate through it. And then, if you truly become one with the Tao, you'll have the potential to go further than you've ever gone before. Because just like water that is flowing in an ever-changing river, so are you also flowing within a universe that is always changing itself. And therefore, if your mindset is stiff and rigid, you'll feel out of place and like you're dreaming the wrong dream. You'll get stuck in the past, and then you'll forget to live the present.
Bang.
If you truly want to live in the now, go with the flow and embrace the Tao. But before you go, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Envato Elements. If you're really interested in editing and making videos like mine, there's a link in the description for 50% off annual subscriptions. But what even is Envato Elements? It's an unlimited subscription service for digital assets. They offer everything from stock footage, sound effects, music, photos, graphics, fonts, and even video templates like the ones you see on screen right now. And with over 56 million assets and unlimited downloads, you cannot imagine how much time I've spent going through their vast and extensive library. I would really suggest to everyone who's interested in creating videos like mine, or if you make your own videos, music and more, to go check them out in the description. It's an incredibly cheap service with amazing quality assets, and I'm incredibly glad to be working with them. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe and check out one of my previous videos right here. This channel is all about digging deeper into the meaning of life and how we can get there through video games, movies and TV shows. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe and share it with the people you love. See ya!